In the skies above Mountain Top, the Drocrests flew, huge scale beasts with wings of feather and skin and razor-sharp teeth. Their roars could be heard down in the valley, down amongst the people. Drocrest dragons rarely came past the forest. They didn't need to. Food was abundant on the mountain and surrounds. People didn't go to the mountain or the forest, and the Drocrest didn't go to the village. But one day this would all change. Cantha was the leader of the Drocrests on Mountain Top. He had 3 mates, and they bore him strong sons and gentle daughters. He was the leader of 25 adults. They respected him and willingly followed his rule, all but one, his younger brother Zul. He did not always agree. He grumbled to whoever would listen that he would make a better leader. One day he would challenge his brother. He would win, and he would lead the herd to better feeding grounds, maybe even to the village. One young Drocrest quietly left the group and went straight to Canthor. The leader was furious. His rage growled up from his chest and erupted into a guttural, rumbling roar. In the village, Ben, Krell, Dom and Rose were lying in the lush, cool grass by the stream. A jet-black crow cawed incessantly at them, and Rose flicked leaves into the water to watch them bob and rush away. They all startled at the roar from the mountain. "What was that?" yelled John. "A Drocrest." "But you only hear them at mating time," said Krell. "Something is wrong. That might be a challenge call," said Ben. "I have heard my grandfather speak of such fights. The air is filled with roaring and screeching until there is a victor," offered Rose. Ben smiled. "I'd give all my gold to see that." "You don't have any," chimed the other 3, and they threw fists full of grass at him. "No, seriously, who's game?" Ben stood and brushed the grass off. "You're kidding. No one goes into the forest, especially if the Drocrests are flying," warned Krell. "They're just stories to scare the children. Quick, let's go before we miss it." Ben grinned. He ran across the grass, over the bridge and into the forest. "Come back, you fool!" they shouted. "I'll go get him," offered Dom. "He's probably waiting to ambush me." He raced off after his friend. Rose stood up and brushed off the grass. "I'm going home. Grandfather will be waiting for his supper." Krell cursed. "Idiot! Wait till Brain finds out that they've gone into the forest. They will have pig duty for a month." He smiled and walked off with her. Canthor flew straight to the rocky summit. He perched on the highest rock and gave the challenge roar again. Zul flew to greet the challenge. His confidence was high, as Canthor had been hunting all day and should be tired. Now was his chance to show them who was the rightful leader. Ben ran through the forest. He was heading for the ancient tree. It was hundreds of years old and so tall that it reached above all the other trees. The lowest branches were just off the ground. If you were game enough to climb it, you could see for miles. Dom kept moving, flinching at every small sound. He knew exactly where his friend was heading. As Ben cleared the undergrowth, he stepped out onto a flat clearing with one huge tree in the centre. What a tree! It took 5 grown men hand to hand to reach around the circumference. It seemed to stretch up into the clouds. Ben climbed onto the first low branch, then reached for the next. Once he got a rhythm going, it was easy to climb. Well, not difficult, but exhausting. On top of the mountain, Canthor stood erect, roaring out to his brother. He would teach him a lesson. Zul flew higher and higher. He landed on the second highest rock and gave an acceptance roar. Cantha leapt into the air, claws and teeth bared. Zul also flew up to meet him. They hit mid-air and it sounded like a thunderclap. Canthor lashed his tail at his sibling and knocked him in the head. Dazed and angry, Zul lashed back. Canthor realised he was serious and gripped Zul's leg and slashed his left wing, completely through. Zul screamed out and dropped to the ground, unable to fly. The leader returned to his lofty perch and roared out his victory call. Ben had cleared the forest canopy as the Drocrest collided in the air. He saw the larger Drocrest grip the smaller one and subdue it. He was fixed to the spot. Unable to move, he felt the sound of the fight in his chest, like when you're near a large drum. Half fear, half curiosity, his eyes stayed on the beasts. Dom reached up beside him, just as the two beasts fell fighting. Ben kept watching. The two sat in the tree for at least 20 minutes after the larger Drocrest flew off. "Did you see that?" Ben's eyes were wide. "Only the last part. They are bigger than I imagined," stared Dom. "Let's tell the others." Ben started to descend. Dom grabbed his arm. "We can't. If Brian finds out..." He made the action of a throat cut. "Well, we won't tell him." By the time they got down to the ground and walked back through the forest, it was dusk. Crickets and frogs were chorusing as they crossed the bridge. "I'm going home now. Don't tell anybody what we saw. See you tomorrow at the mill." Dom walked off towards his home. Zul limped away after the fight, sore, disheartened, and now flightless. His brother had humiliated him, and he was angry, but mostly sore. He dragged his damaged wing and moved down the mountain. It took ages before he was at the foot of the ancient tree. He sniffed. There was a strange smell, a new smell. He hadn't known that smell before. It was human.